Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sweet Talkin' Ponies podcast. We're recording an episode last minute. Let's see if I can get this edited within the last 3 or 4 days of the month. I'm here with Danny. Say hello. Say hello.
Hi.
All right, and I think you are very audible in the audio, which is good. I've set it right next to the microphone. But yeah, I for context, I have moved within the past month, and so I don't have my computer set up, and that's what I use to edit videos. So instead, we're doing a very low budget iPad edited video. So if it's bad, blame Apple. But yeah, welcome everybody to the podcast. I will go into a pony set of the month, and I'm not even going to send you an image because you already know these ponies. I picked them out just because I feel like they're so common that they're perfect for beginner restorationists. The 1984 Unicorns and Pegasus, Sunbeam, Glory, Moondancer, Twilight, Medley, and Firefly.
Hooray!
Yeah, Sunbeam is blue with a sun cutie mark, and she has white and gold hair. Glory is white with a shooting star cutie mark. She has purple and blue hair. Moondancer is white with purple and red hair, and she has a moon and star cutie mark. Twilight is pink with white and purple hair, and she has a star cutie mark. Medley is green with a musical cutie mark, and Firefly is pink with blue hair and lightning bolt cutie marks.
Hooray!
And a very famous fact about two of these ponies, Twilight is the basis for Generation 4 Twilight Sparkle, and Firefly is the inspiration for Generation 4 Rainbow Dash.
Hooray!
If I had to pick a favorite out of these, I would struggle because they're all pretty solid.
Yeah.
Glory and Moondancer are kind of very standard favorites. They have a wedding statue made of them, so people like to pretend that they're gay. But they're just very solid, space designs. Twilight's also very pretty. I have a gorgeous condition one. And Sunbeam is one of those ponies who I desperately want but don't have.
I have Sunbeam, and she's gorgeous.
Which one's your favorite of these 6?
Definitely Sunbeam.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty.
Yay! And so yeah. So the episode topic today is restoration. Woohoo! What is restoration, and what does it mean to restore a pony? It's kind of basically exactly what it sounds like. It's taking something that is flawed or old or broken and giving it new life by fixing it. And I think I also want to ask how it's different from standard cleaning or customization, and is there overlap? Because I think there is overlap between customization, restoration, and cleaning, but they're all kind of distinct things. Customization is when you're making something completely new. Restoration more so aims to restore it to its original condition. So you're not adding new hair colors or anything like that. You're trying to bring it back to how it originally was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I also, this is very annoying about me, and I know people might disagree with this. This is my pet peeve. I hate it when people call cleaning restoration, or they'll post a photo of a pony they've restored, but they've just given her a wash in the sink. To me, restoration means that the pony had rust or something deeply wrong with it that the average person couldn't fix. You have to be somewhat knowledgeable to do restoration. It's not just cleaning to me. But then again, that's just a personal, word semantic preference, and I feel like people will disagree with me on that. And I also thought it would be very interesting to talk about different perspectives surrounding restoration, because it is a way to bring new life to old toys, restoring them back to their former glory. It's generally seen as pretty positive since it's trying to preserve history, especially documenting things online. We've discussed before that, like, these are children's toys, and so most people probably don't think they have that much value. So a lot of history gets lost because people fail to document them, but by restoring something, you can kind of preserve it and keep its history alive, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But also, some people are pretty wary of doing things to their toys, especially old vintage toys that aren't made anymore. They want to keep them exactly as they are, even if they have flaws, since that's a different way of preserving history. Like, some people don't like giving ponies new hair because, oh, you're messing up the old pony by even if the old pony has cut hair or something, you're taking away her original hair or something. So people, this isn't everyone. Everyone feels differently about it, but that's one perspective I've also seen around it.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
You're playing TF2 during our recording session. How dare you?
No, I'm not. I'm not, I promise.
I do think sometimes it's okay to be wary of restoring things, especially since some people who are brand new to the hobby, it's very easy to be misinformed and restore ponies in a way that actually damages them because there is a lot of misinformation on the internet. You cannot trust Google's AI. You cannot trust just random people on Reddit. There are people who are spreading, like, because a very famous example is when ponies have marker or Sharpie on them or something. One of the old ways that collectors in the fandom would fix that was with, like, acne cream. Like, rub that onto the Sharpie and it would disappear. So people spread that information around a lot, but come a decade later, when time has passed, turns out the chemical in the acne cream negatively impacted the ponies, and they the color got bleached from them. Like, all the ponies had marks from the acne cream, and it was irreversible and it could spread to other ponies. So it does make sense to kind of be wary about not wanting to mess up your toy if you're new to the fandom and you don't know the best practices, because it is easy to spread and learn misinformation.
Yeah, and the thing with the acne cream is it's like benzoyl peroxide, right? I've used that, and there's warnings like on my benzoyl peroxide of, hey, don't let this like sit on your hair or your eyebrows because it bleaches it.
Yeah. Well, it's also like,
so that's like an actual thing you have to. That's like on the bottle that you have to worry about, even like with your own skin and your hair and stuff.
I also think it's because there's a lot of overlap with My Little Pony in the more broader doll collecting community, and some dolls have had acne cream used on them without any adverse effects, but you have to consider this is vintage vinyl plastic from the 1980s that doesn't react the same as other types of doll plastic. So, like, I'm very wary using any chemicals on my ponies. Like, people will be like, oh, you can use this, it's okay, and people have used it successfully. I'll still be a little wary using any chemicals near my pony, because what if in 10 years we discover that it's going to have some adverse effect? Not to fearmonger, you can still, like, generally, if you're doing a lot of research, I don't think you have to fear, like, a lot of stuff, but, it is just a reminder to be very careful and thorough when researching stuff. So, and to ask professionals in the pony fandom who have been in the fandom for more than like 1 year, because it does. This is another mean person pet peeve. I'll never do this on the forums themselves. I'll just like rant about this to my friends in my closed circles. But it does annoy me when some brand new collector comes onto the forum and starts like posting a lot and like spreading information they've just learned, but it's misinformation, or like spreading false ideas, because like they don't have any negative intent, but they're still like not really, like, you gotta ask people who have been in the fandom for a long time, who have been restoring ponies for a long time, because they will be more knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And that's not me trying to gatekeep pony restoration. Everyone starts somewhere. I'm probably not the best person to ask either because I've only been in the G1 fandom for a few years now. I fully admit there are people who are way more knowledgeable than me, but like I was way more of an idiot 3 months into collecting ponies than I am few years into collecting ponies, you know? Yeah, I do get jump scared quite frequently when people on pony forums are like, "Is it okay if I use bleach on my pony?" And it's like, "Nope, no, 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 please don't do that."
No.
I can use acne cream, right? No, no. Just rule of thumb. Please, dear God, ask the pony collectors before you use any kind of chemicals or try anything new. But also, I feel like going back to how some people might not want to have ponies who don't have their original hair. Some people are rather picky with their collections, and that's fine. Like buy mint ponies if you want to. It'll just cost you more. It is kind of another pet peeve of mine when people buy 40-year-old pony toys and then complain that there's a small flaw that they have to restore because it's 40-year-old pony toys on old ass plastic that little children played with. If you want mint ponies, you're gonna pay a premium for that. And that's just the kind of life you have to live if you're a picky collector. Um, but it also makes me wonder if picky collectors drive up the value of ponies and skew what people actually think is a damaged ponies. Because a lot of times people will call something a restoration when it's like very minor surface level dirt, and that is not a restoration to me. That's like cleaning. But that's just ideas that I'm throwing around. Yeah, just generally like it also like like this is kind of getting off topic, but like the condition of a pony is very subjective. And I feel like picky collectors do kind of obscure what is a good condition pony because there are ponies who are very good condition, but because they have slightly tangled hair or something, people label them as poor condition. And trust me, I feel like when it comes to like poor quality ponies, that's ponies that have like marker or highlighter on them or cut hair or rust or something like that, you know? And that also brings into the question is there still beauty in the flawed ponies? Like, not everyone is a skilled restorationist, so, like, not everyone's gonna be able to fix age spots. But even so, even if you are a skilled restorationist, if your pony only has, like, one age spot, is it worth it to go through all the hassle to spend months sun fading them? Or is there still like some kind of beauty in flawed toys? That's also kind of the perspective some people who don't like restoration as much come from because they're looking at the history of the toy and how it has aged over time. At the end of the day, I always say this, even if it's like something like that, like it's your toy. You spent money on it. It's your pony, so you can do whatever you want, regardless of what other people think, regardless of if it offends me personally. If you want to use bleach on your pony, I guess go ahead, but I'd advise against it. But if you want to keep your pony flawed because you think that values some of their history, keep them flawed. If you want to restore them and replace all their hair, it's up to you. Just be respectful of people who do things differently, you know?
Yeah.
So with that, I thought it'd be fun to talk about the best restoration techniques, and I think the main thing is just knowing what materials are safe and unsafe to use on ponies. Like we talked about acne cream, certain chemicals that can be bad for the plastic, like bleach or something like that. One thing I'll bring up is people will use acetone to remove certain marks or paint or something, and that can be okay to use, but you have to be careful because you could accidentally damage the eyes or the cutie mark or something like that. So yeah, every chemical I would suggest before you use it on a pony, ask someone on a restoration forum or do some research first before just using it blindly. Most people will, but there are some materials that are safe to use on ponies. Like, people will use OxyClean for deep cleaning, though that can damage some of the pearlescent shine on like Twinkle Eyes and Princess Pony symbols. So like, you do have to like really thoroughly like when you're first getting into it, what's safe and what's not. Rust removers like white vinegar are generally safe, though the stronger rust removers might be less safe. So like it is partly trial and error, but also partly doing research and asking people who are in the know.
Yeah.
And I would also suggest avoiding cleaning and restoration methods that can be dangerous. Like, if you're going to use any kind of dangerous method, like using chemicals, you have to be extremely careful, not just for your pony's safety, but for your own safety as well, like wearing gloves and taking precautions. I wouldn't recommend those dangerous methods unless you absolutely know what you're doing. For example, using heat. Like, people will use irons on pony hair to like iron it out and make it straight. But if you do that on super fragile hair, like tinsel or polypropylene, or just if you use too hot of an iron, you can melt the plastic, which is dangerous because you could burn yourself, but also like it'll damage the toy. But there are some people who know what they're doing because they're being slow, they're being careful, they've done this before, and so they're completely fine to do it. Again, it's another thing of like, you have to decide what you're comfortable doing to your own toys that you spent money on, and you have to do research to try and figure out what's safe, what isn't, and you just have to know what you're doing with the more dangerous methods. It's very
Yeah.
Or like dunking whole ponies underwater. That's not recommended because mold could get trapped, water could get trapped inside the ponies, and that could cause mold. But you might see some people doing full body OxyClean baths because they're taking the pony apart anyways and they're gonna let it air out. So like, again, it just depends on what you're doing. Yeah, my main advice, just ask pony restorationists who have been in the fandom for at least over a year, because when you're new and you haven't done a lot of research, it can be easy to come across misinformation.
Yeah.
I have seen some poor soul on the trading post, this was like months ago, I won't name names, but they were like, how should I get rid of this pen mark on this pony? I asked ChatGPT and it told me to use this, and I'm like, oh no, don't do that. Because I gave them a not good answer. So like, don't just rely on ChatGPT or AI or anything like that. Like, go to real people, please. Thank you. And I will say, a lot of things are just personal preference, and everyone does things their own way. Whether that's using slightly different techniques when cleaning, or people having personal preferences for wanting like the original hair versus nice new nylon rehairs. Like, I have been very annoyed personally when I watch someone clean a pony, but they do something slightly different. Like, they'll wash the pony by dunking them in the sink or something, and I'll be like, oh, I would not do that. But I just have to accept that people do things a different way from me. Like, I have to accept people will iron pony hair even if I'm scared of melting the hair. And if someone is doing something a different way from you, but it isn't actively causing harm, just don't mind it, be polite, you do you, and don't try to police others. And so I guess the next thing to ask would be like, what is our personal processes for cleaning and restoring ponies? Because I feel like it is different from person to person, like what steps we generally take. I know I know that for me, when I get ponies, I will give them like a very basic wash first in the sink using like an old toothbrush and dish soap, and I'll be careful not to get water in their neck seams or anything like that, because I don't want water to get trapped inside. I just try to see how much I can get cleaned first, and then run a general diagnostic, see if they have rust or pen or something that needs to be removed. Rust I usually clean by using white vinegar or something and scrubbing it off, and then taking the pony apart so the head is separate from the body and the tail has been pulled out, scrubbing everything down, throwing it in an OxyClean bath, and then letting it dry overnight before putting it back together. But if they have marks or something, they might require sun fading, which is like its own process. I'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I know that I've kind of tended to not really ever do restoration. I think it's really cool to see other people do it, but anytime I get a pony and I see any sort of flaw, I'm just like, wow, that's neat.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's not too bad. She's really pretty, and then I just wash her and do her hair. And, you know, I check for signs of rust and, like, the tails and stuff, but if I don't see it, I'm like, yeah, you're probably fine.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
I typically will at least attempt to take the head off. And if it comes off easy, I'll take a look inside. But if the head is, like, stuck, I don't typically try to fight it too much. I'm just like, yeah, I don't see rust. You're probably fine.
Yeah. Is there any, like, major fun restorations that we've done in the past that we want to talk about? I don't know how much restorations you've done.
I haven't done, like, any at all, but I know that you have given a pony an entire new leg before.
I have. That was Magic Star. Back in, like,
And I still think that's really fucking awesome.
Back in 2023 or something, I think you specifically bought a lot of really baity ponies. And I remember you gave me some that you just were like, I'm not messing with that. It was a confetti that had highlighter all over her fucking body, like covered head to toe. She ended up sun fading for several months. I remembered what I was going to say, and I'll say it next. But the other one was a Magic Star, who is this pony from the So Soft line. They have flocking on their bodies, and she's like in a rearing pose. But she was bald, completely bald, had a dog chew off her like leg entirely, and like half of her flocking was gone. So what I did was I took clay and I sculpted her a new leg, tried to paint it to color match to her body color, which was difficult because her body was covered in flocking, and so with flocking, the body color underneath is usually a brighter, more vibrant color so that it'll show up through the flocking. It turns like lighter color. So you have to try to color match what's underneath the flocking. And then I had to buy flocking and like apply that on top of the paint job and rehair her. So she was a fun project. I am still not entirely happy with her because she was the first time I tried to do a sculpting like that. So I feel like she has flaws, and I feel like her flocking is kind of flawed, but it's better than having one leg.
I think it's really awesome.
Thank you. Yay.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think I've ever restored a single pony.
No, that's fair.
And I think anytime I have any that have cut hair that I want, you know, them to have more hair, I think I just hand it off to you.
Because I really love doing rehairs.
You rehair them for me.
I know that this also veers into customization territory because she became a custom, but I really enjoyed when my friend Millie sent me over some like baity Betty by eyes, and I got to look at this heartthrob who had like an entire eye dislocated in the skull, and I got to open her up and take apart the eye mechanism, and I took pictures and made like a whole blog article about that so that people could restore Betty by eyes, because the only resources I could find on the internet about it prior to that point were like a small paragraph on one restoration website, and there's an old forum called the MLP Arena. It recently went down for like a month and is gone haywire, but it's such an old site that like if you don't have an account, you can't look at the images, and sometimes a lot of the old images are lost anyways because they're on old image hosting sites that have become debunked, you know?
Yeah.
So there was some Betty Bye information out there, but nothing recent, and I would like a lot of it was inaccessible because you had to have an MLP Arena account, and sometimes the images wouldn't even load just because of how old the website was. So I enjoyed kind of creating new restoration resources for people through that.
Yeah.
Plus, I fucking love Betty Bye eyes. They're little freaks, and I like them, and you could rip them out of my cold, dead hands. And they have interesting eye mechanics. They're basically like your typical moving eyes on a doll, which if you don't know how those work, if you've ever seen videos of how animatronics or puppets are made, I'm speaking to a very exclusive group of people who are probably interested in either puppetry or cosplay or something like that. If you're not skilled in those things, you probably have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. But they like create the eye and like it blinks. Well, the Betty Bye eyes actually work entirely through gravity. Like they don't have any kind of lever or anything that you pull. They just are weighted.
They're like baby dolls.
Yeah, they're like baby dolls. They're weighted. They close when they come down, and there's like a stopper on one side to keep them from swiveling too far in one direction. But there's little notches on each side, and that holds them in place in the socket. And I have with that heartthrob, she became my black heartthrob, but she had one of those notches was damaged, so I drilled a tiny hole into it. And then I took like a wire from a pipe cleaner and I glued that in so that it had a new little notch. And I like trimmed it down to size and then shoved it back into the head. Which was really hard to do because I had to do it from the inside. Because if you take the eyes out through the outside of the face, you can do it, but it's easy to damage the eye socket. Like, because it's very soft plastic, it could rip. But if you go on the inside, you can cut open the pockets where the eye is supposed to sit and then just shove the eye in there. But it's really hard to do because it's a small space and it's very difficult to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think specifically I would like to talk about the most common restoration methods for the most common pony problems. And I think number one thing that I see is what do I do if the pony has cut hair? And obviously some people like having the original hair, so they might just try to work with it, trim it so it looks good, and then like style it so it looks okay. That's totally valid. I really, really love doing full rehairs with like nice new nylon hair because it's so soft and pretty when it's brand new. And a lot of old ponies, especially in the Generation 3 era, they had polypropylene, which was like poor quality hair that would literally rip out of their heads because the hair disintegrated over the years. So it's either that or a child has cut the hair off or for some reason your pony needs new hair. That is done the same way that other doll collectors will give, or customizers will give dolls new hair. They'll buy hair from whichever source they want. I typically use Shimmerlocks because I like their website and how easy it is. They have an option where you can search for hair colors, and they have different types. They have and this is just true of any kind of hair supplier. There's like typically 3 types of doll hair. Nylon is my favorite. It's very nice and strong and gorgeous and beautiful. Then there's Saran, which I haven't had much experience working with. And polypropylene is what a lot of companies use to like cut on costs. It works, it just will disintegrate over time, and the lower quality stuff is not like it's not what you want, so most of the time people won't buy it. But how rehairing works is the pony has holes in their skull where the hair has been punched in by the factory. Remove all the existing hair, and then you get a very specialized needle. It's like a sewing needle, but the back of it has been like cut, and then those two little ends where the eye of the needle was, they get sharpened, so it's like a little punching tool, and it's kind of like needle punching, like for rugs and stuff. And you just punch in a few strands of hair at a time, and then glue it from the inside. And that's how people rehair ponies, if you didn't know. I'm sitting with a dog that I'm babysitting, and he just started licking his own feet. Hi there, buddy. He's a husky, and he smells really bad.
No. Don't be mean.
It's just his breath, because he's licking his paws. Another common problem is if the pony has pen, or sometimes what people refer to as age marks, which are like little marks. People haven't reached a full consensus on what they actually are. Some people believe that they're like colonies of fungi or mold or something, but it's little spots on the pony, like little like black or brown spots on the pony. And with pen or highlighter or age spots, or sometimes people call it pony cancer, or whatever it may be, a lot of the times the way that people will restore that, well, first of all, if it's pen or something, you can try acetone, but again, being careful to like wipe it off afterwards and make sure not to get it on the eyes or cutie marks, because it can dissolve the paint. But a lot of times people will try sun fading, which is the concept that UV light, when pen or something is exposed to UV light for a long period of time, the marks will lessen, like they'll fade. And the most simple way of doing this is covering up your pony's hair and cutie mark with like toilet paper or tape or something, sticking that bitch on the front porch and letting it sit in the sun for a few months. I have seen people use paint to cover the eyes and cutie mark during this process. I really, really don't like it because I have seen the paint damage the symbols. Like when they try to remove the paint, they end up removing the eyes or cutie mark, or the paint bleaches the color from the cutie mark. I saw that with like a baby Fifi recently. I really, really, really do not suggest using paint, because you could just cover it with tape or something like that. Like I have put toilet paper over her head covering her eyes, and then just like hair tied that on, and it worked fine. But it's one of those things where it's like, I've just got to accept people do things differently from me. And some people will speed up this process by applying, what is it? What do they apply onto it? Let me fucking look this up so I get it right.
I want to say hydrogen peroxide.
Yes. People will put hydrogen peroxide in a cream form, usually the salon cream, onto it, and that will make the marks go faster. I haven't seen any evidence of this negatively impacting the pony, but I am still personally reluctant to do that, because I am like, I don't want to apply random chemicals to a pony when we have seen in the past that can lead to bad bleaching effects. But I don't think hydrogen peroxide is actually dangerous, because people also use it in the liquid form, as in they will throw the pony into a little tin or a bucket of hydrogen peroxide and then stick that in the sun, and it'll make the process go faster. It's not actually necessary, though. Like, I have faded ponies completely without any hydrogen peroxide at all, and it fades fine. It just takes longer, so it's up to how patient you want to be. And
Yeah.
some people go all out. They'll build little UV chambers with like reptile UV lights, and then like line the ends with aluminum foil or something reflective, so that they have a controlled little environment for their pony. And I think that's a really good idea. I just am too broke to do that. Oh, and rust. I feel like rust is the other big thing that people will need to restore. But I kind of already talked about that. Remove the head from it's because it's usually a rusty tail washer, because vintage ponies, their tail is held in place by a metal stopper. So what that means is when little girls give their pony a bath or brush their hair with water or something, or just take their pony out into the rain and water happens to get inside, it causes rust on the tail because there's metal in the tail. So that can lead to the ends of the tails looking yellowed and nasty, like rust colored. So you take off the head, use tweezers to remove the tail. I personally will remove all of the metal from the tail and replace it with zip ties so that it doesn't rust again in the future, but that is entirely personal preference, and I know other people will just leave the metal washer. Clean it using whichever rust remover you prefer. I use white vinegar and like a toothbrush to scrub it all off. But then again, that's not a fail-safe way, because sometimes the hair has been stained by the rust so badly that it'll just be a little bit yellow, like even after cleaning it. But to me, if I have actually cleaned all the rust, then that's good enough for me, because I know that my pony is clean and not dirty. Even if she's stained, she's at least better than she was. And I also feel like repinking is probably another common thing that people will encounter. So a lot of ponies in Generation 1 and sometimes in Generation 3, I'm not sure about Generation 2, probably for Generation 2 as well, they would have a very specific shade of pink. In the fandom, it's collectively known as fading pink because it faded in the sun. Like the technique that people use for sun fading, there's a reason why you have to cover the hair and stuff. It's because the sun will fade hair and stuff, and it does this for all colors. It's just most noticeable on pink because the pink will turn to a complete white color. So that's ponies like Rose Dust. What other ponies have fading pink?
Ren has things to say.
Hi, Ren. Meow, meow.
Cat moment.
But yeah, Rose Dust, my ass really cannot think of a single other pony with fading pink.
Steamer, I think.
Yeah, Steamer.
Up and away, I think.
Yes, you know that very specific shade of pink. It's like it has like an orange undertone in the light. Actually, it's really pretty, but it fades under the sunlight. So you could re-hair pink ponies, but a lot of people will just dye it so that it's a similar color, and that won't give the same effect that the original hair has, because like the original hair does have like a special undertone to it. But I know Rit dye, the petal pink color is very close to fading pink. And I'm not giving an extensive guide here, like this isn't a tutorial. I'm just going off the top of my head. So my next question on the document I have is, are there any resources for beginner to restorers to learn about specific restoration techniques? And boy, I know I just wrote this so I could ramble. Because there are a lot of really great old internet My Little Pony websites that have resources for collectors, obviously in collectors forums like My Little Pony Trading Post or My Little Pony Arena. People have been discussing restoration techniques for decades. Like people have been talking about what they do specifically to restore damaged ponies. I would like to highlight the My Little Pony Preservation Project, which is a wonderful website that has like basically, that's where I point to as the starting point for if you are a beginner collector who is just getting into restoration, go to that website and memorize all the information on there. That's your starting point. Like, that has links to, like, they have a big page with pretty much every single problem you could think of. Yellowed bodies, pen on them, rust, broken flutter wings, whatever you could think of. They have, like, basic information about how you can fix it and sometimes links to more information. So that's what I would suggest checking out. I also have a website. It's charmsponies.neocities.org. I need to update it, but I have a whole page on there that's just links for restoration tutorials and also resources and materials you might need in restoration. So I will link that as well. And of course, just asking people in the My Little Pony community, please, if you can't find anything online, ask others about it before venturing into the realm of experimentation. I also know that there are even some people who will restore your pony for you for a cost as a service. I can't think of anyone off of the top of my head right now, because I do follow someone on Tumblr who did My Little Pony, like basically a salon where people would send in their ponies and they would clean them up and restore any problems with them, because the people who own the ponies were too timid to want to restore them themselves in case they fuck something up. But the experienced restorationist has been doing it for years, so they're a good resource to turn to. Unfortunately, the one person who I followed on Tumblr who did that, they aren't taking, I believe they aren't taking any new ponies right now, so I can't suggest anyone. But if you want, ask around and see if there are any restorationists who are willing to restore your pony for you if you are too scared to do it yourself. I will say, I don't think restoration is too difficult a hobby to get into if you're willing to put in. If you're a pony person and you collect ponies and you intend on collecting ponies for a long time, it's a worth it skill to learn. But if you're just someone who like has like 2 or 3 ponies, maybe they were given to you, maybe you're looking to sell them, you probably don't have to learn a whole new skill just for a few little ponies. But if it's something that like is important to you, I would suggest learning it, putting in the work. And a lot of it, like, I don't want to paint it as, oh, it's 100% easy, because it's not. There are some stuff in restoration that's difficult, and some people struggle with certain parts more than others. Like, some people really struggle with rehairing a pony, where I feel like that's like almost a therapeutic experience. Yeah.
I struggle.
Yeah, I feel like it's okay to struggle. Like, I don't want to paint it as like a easy hobby, but there are some things that are surprisingly easier than you would expect. Like, when I was first going into it, I had no idea what I was like so intimidated by the prospect of it. But it's actually rather easy to pop a pony's head off, yank their tail out, and clean all the rust out of it. Like, it takes you like 30 minutes at the most, and it's really not that hard. I also do want to like kind of give some respect for restorationists, because in a lot of ways it is like an art. Like, there is a lot of techniques you have to know and learn and research, and you have to get a lot of well, I'm not saying you have to buy a lot of shit to become a restorationist, but a lot of times people will have specific tools like tweezers or forceps or something so they can get into the bodies of the ponies. They have specific needles for rehairing. They have entire massive ass bags full of doll hair, and people walk into your room and they go, Casey, why the fuck do you have hair all over your room? And like, there's a lot of shit that you might get into if you're restoring things. And there is kind of an art, especially to ponies with scuffed symbols, or like if you do need to repaint a pony, you have to learn how to color match paint and paint in a way that looks smooth and isn't distracting and looks close to the original. Like, there's a lot of talent that goes into restorationists, especially if you're trying to make it look like the original, and I think that should be respected. I'm gonna end this with a call to action. If you find a little pony in like a charity shop or something, and you're like, oh, she's too messed up for me to know what to do with her, I just give her a chance. Give a toy a second lease on life. Even if you aren't good at restoring her, you could always end up customizing her. Restoration is cool, and I think it does a good way of preserving toy history in a way. And yeah, I think it's a very fun technique, and I encourage you, if you are interested at all in restoration, to research restoration techniques. Use the resources that I have linked below. And yeah, feel free to share with us any cool restorations you've done. You can @ me on Tumblr or on Instagram. I got an Instagram recently. I only follow pony people on there, so my dash is entirely custom ponies, and I'm living the dream. But yeah, my Tumblr is Charms Ponies, and my Tumblr is Charms Ponies, and my Instagram is Sparkell Dog. If you @ me with a picture of a restoration you've done, I will put it at the beginning of next episode. No one's gonna do this.
I don't think I've done anything close to restoration.
That's okay. And with that, I will thank everybody for listening to today's episode. Yeah, I'm glad I kind of recorded a short one so that I have time to edit it within the 3 days that we have left of the year. Oh my God, we have an entire ass new year coming up. Oh God. Yeah, I do feel bad. I was so busy moving out of my old place because of an emergency that I just did not have time to do any pony stuff. But my schedule is more freed up now. So hopefully pony content resumes eventually. And hopefully it's not just recorded on my iPad and I'll have my actual editing software back. So yeah, that's all for tonight. Thank you guys. Bye.